Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40k Universe. I am your host Gershwan, and today we're going to be talking about the ocean world of Numenor. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40k lore videos every single day. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below, and if you enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. It is because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the ocean world of Numenor. The planet of Numenor was a terrestrial-type agri-world of the oceanic subtype, which was commonly referred to as an ocean world. Check out our 40 facts on the daily life of an ocean world if you guys want to learn more about those types of planets. It was a planet of world-spanning oceans and volcanic islands, the largest of which formed Numenor's principal continents. Numenor was discovered later on in the Great Crusade, when Imperial explorator fleets followed a stabled warp route originating from the Machian Commonwealth, which had just recently been liberated from the baleful overlordship of the Mitu conglomerate. Check out our 40 facts on the Mitu conglomerate if you want to learn about that ancient empire. Since then, Numenor had formed an important link in a chain of human civilizations in the Northern Imperium. With the discovery of several stable warp routes linking it to the future Agathian domain, Numenor's exploitation as an agri-world was quickly decided. As would later be discovered, these stable warp routes extended far into the eastern fringe of the Imperium, permitting starships to bypass entirely the elusive Haedix warp channel, on which plenty of void ships had already been lost. These vital routes would make Numenor a prime target during the Horus Heresy, but at the world's beginning, these proved to be a boon for the new agri-world. Segmentum Authority had placed high hopes on the planet, and when Imperial colonization began in the late 30th millennium, it was almost achieved within a standard decade. Rapidly constructed prefabricated cities and outposts soon harbored some 40 million inhabitants, while a navigational beacon was installed on the habitable moon of Numenor 5. Numenor seas were given over to the aquaculture and genetic engineering by specially dispatched magobiologist retinues, which would further improve Numenor's native or imported flora and fauna. To exploit these natural resources, well-developed orbital transshipping infrastructure and an immense geosynchronous void station was constructed. Almost immediately after completion, Numenor began with the export of nutrient-rich compounds, mostly algae and fish, for the densely populated world of the Machian Commonwealth. However, the planet's oceans weren't entirely free of intelligent life, as the presence of several primitive amphibious species native to Numenor warranted suppression and extermination campaigns led by a specialist unit of the 1023rd and 2774th Odin cohorts of the Exertus Imperialis. These Solar Auxilia veteran cohorts, as well as a native detachment of Solar Auxilia Security Forces, which would later be the PDF, Planetary Defense Force, were stationed on board Numenor's Void Station, and were the only standing military force when the entire region was overcome by the First Battle of the Horus Heresy. The attackers were not traitor Legionis Astartes, but Psychothratha-bound battle automatons. Against this unnaturally relentless foe, organized resistance proved difficult, and shortly after, the Void Station had been taken. The only loyalist military force remaining on Numenor were those of the Obed cohorts. The remnants of these cohorts quickly splintered into a resistance guerrilla force, which used to their advantage their expertise in the swamps and semi-aquatic terrain that dominated Numenor. The terrain was terrible for the Mechanicum's heavier units, and their lighter units could often be ambushed through the Obed's cohort's knowledge of the surrounding lands. The Obed cohort's efforts were focused on sabotage and opportunistic assaults, a campaign they maintained for an entire Terran year and required further Mechanicum reinforcements to quell. This forced the invaders to redeploy troops they had originally intended for other war zones, and after the continuous failing of their local Magos, it became clear that the Dark Mechanicus principal warlord, the vaulted Archmagos Yelev Dracovac, needed to be recalled from the front lines in the Seridat Trinity to deal with other matters. Still, the Obed cohort could not be drawn into combat, and eluded every attempt at a pitched battle, which would soon have seen them crushed against the superior Mechanicum forces. Tired of chasing this elusive target, the ruthless Archmagos would devise a different strategy. He would not destroy the Obed cohorts, he would destroy what they had been protecting. Probably intended all along, the Archmagos ordered the forcible conversion of Numenor's civilian population into Mechanicum-bound servitors. This would serve two purposes. First, to increase his own forces, as well as diminishing the supposed loyalist population which the Obed cohorts used to shelter and resupply, and secondly, it forced the Obed cohorts to make a stand, their sense of duty compelling them to take action against this most vile practice of the Dark Mechanicum. However, the Loyalists soon received reinforcements from the Agathian domain in the form of Ironton Mesaid, a Lord Marshal of the Imperial Army and a man on a personal vendetta against the Archmagos. Using the ancient nature of the Hammer of the Deeps, Mesaid used this mighty vessel to covertly approach the moon where Numenal's astropathic relays were established. Counting on the element of surprise, he seized the relay and prevented the traitors from calling assistance or raising the alarm to the others on Numenal. Because the Archmagos forces were busy converting the population to servitors, it gave the Loyalists the opportunity and the time needed to considerably fortify their landing zone. When the Archmagos discovered the Loyalist, he ordered his knights and personal retinue to protect the massive amphibious crawlers that had been commissioned for the task of collecting the population. He then dispatched a token force to conduct reconnaissance on this new and unknown enemy. Soon Dracovac discovered that he would face the Agathian cohorts of the Solar Auxilia, bearing the livery of the long decommissioned 60th Expeditionary Fleet. Expecting enemy reinforcement, the Archmagos reinforced his own attack wave en route. Their task was to keep the new enemy under pressure, as to give him time to amass a larger secondary force to crush the Loyalist beachhead. The first attack wave would suffer far heavier casualties than expected, Mesaid having issued blast charge capacitors to his troops, which could readily damage the battle automatons that were usually impervious to small arm fire. The Dark Mechanicus forces grudgingly retreated, the Lesser Magi unwilling to assault such a heavily defended position and risk their own lives. Seizing on this opportunity, several insurrections arose on Numenal, threatening the overall success of the Dark Magos' plans. Dracovac had no choice but to personally lead the next attack, which would include his entire retinue of Thrall Knights. The Dark Magos saw that the Loyalists displayed a considerable lack of armor, which he could exploit. Little did he know that this was specifically what Mesaid had gambled on. On his command, his own Knight detachment deployed using anti-Cobalt class heavy assault landers. This action completely outflanked the Dark Mechanicus. Dracovac had to redeploy his own Knights as a bodyguard to protect him. While the Knights fought each other, the Solar Auxilia surged forward from their defensive lines and pressed back the Mechanicum forces. Realizing that he himself was the enemy commander's objective, Dracovac ordered his bodyguards to form up around him and cover his retreat. This action would sacrifice his own troops so that he might live. Fleeing from the battlefield, Dracovac succeeded in reaching his command compound, from where he was good to escape into orbit. His own life had been preserved, but his entire Mechanicus force lost definite control over Numenal and the overall war. With the planet free of the traitors, the ocean world would go on to play a pivotal supply role for the rest of the Horus Heresy, and its defenders continued to wage war until the Imperium's eventual victory. It would be a while until Numenal would return to its most efficient output, but to this day, many neighboring systems rely on the ocean world that is not only rich in resources, but imperial history as well. And those were 40 facts on the planet of Numenal. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it showcases how diverse Imperial planets truly are, from ocean worlds to hive worlds to desert worlds to just about every other type of world. Think of Star Wars, but just in 40K, and then throw in that grim darkness of the population turning into servitors, basically. I hope this helps you creating lore, so if you are interested in creating your own lore, really diving into the origin of a specific planet. So for example, if you're creating an Imperial Guard regiment, what makes that Imperial Guard regiment special that correlates to the planet and its history? That's very important when creating your lore. Same thing if you're doing a homebrew chapter, so if you're creating your own Space Marine chapter, the planet homeworld is important, and the fortress monastery is important, but so is the population and its history. Like, what makes them so unique? The fact that these guys from Numenal were fighting a native oceanic intelligent life form is something that kind of just glazed over, but it could be something that you dive deeper into and really make that a part of whatever your homebrew chapter or whatever your homebrew Imperial Guard regiment is all about. Maybe their armor is special because they killed a certain type of like crab intelligent life form, and now only the most elite, so like the captains or the commanders, actually have that type of chitinous armor and stuff like that. All things that you can play with based on the types of worlds that you use, or the type of worlds that there are. If you guys want a brief explanation on all of the Imperial planets, I'll put a link up above of a video that I did quite a while back, but it's still worth watching just because it talks about all the different types of planets. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any suggestions for any other planets, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.